Hi, I'm Esther Anderson, a Logie-nominated Australian actress, host and international model, and I'm here with personal transformation experts, spiritual teachers and authors, Sandra and Daniel Biskind. Hello.
Hi, Esther.
Hi. Now, I've been so excited about our subject for today. The next key word in the Codebreaker Platinum series is neutrality, and this is just such an exciting and powerful, even revolutionary concept that is foundational to your work. And I know we've touched on it in previous videos, but today we really get to go into some more depth. So please, can you start by telling us, what do you mean by this concept of neutrality?
Neutrality is that state where you're non-attached to your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, your emotions, and ego mind programs just no longer control you. So the dramas of every life just no longer exist. You're free to live the best version of you, and that's free to live a platinum life.
Amazing.
When you're neutral, no one and nothing can push your buttons. You're free, you're connected to your true self, and you're free to respond creatively rather than to react to life's challenges.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit like when I was a very young girl, I was made to clean up the kitchen and to have everything spotless. So I have a program that says the kitchen needs to be spotless. So when we started together in our relationship, Daniel didn't have that program running. The kitchen doesn't have to be spotless for him. And so he can leave his dishes on the sink and not put them in the dishwasher. And I'll walk in and I have a lot of options at that stage. I can decide to become emotional about it and move away from love and get my buttons and my whole being into a knot. I can put them in the dishwasher, I can leave them there for him to put in the dishwasher, or I can just remain neutral. And of course, if I want to be in this relationship with this man, I'm going to make sure I remain neutral.
Yeah, you don't want your buttons being pushed every day, every time Daniel leaves the cup out.
We know couples who break up over the silliest little thing. And all they had to do was have one session with us and get neutral to whatever that program is that's running their show. And they get back to love.
Incredible, because sometimes these things that seemingly are little can amount to big, problems and big confrontation when it's unnecessary if you're neutral.
Well, everybody's had this experience. I mean, I am sure that you have the option to move away from love many times in any given day when I push your buttons, but you always choose to remain neutral.
These are like the tip of the iceberg, these little things that push our buttons. And the key is we all need neutrality.
In neutrality, I mean, you really have a whole new way of thinking and feeling and experiencing your life and everything in it.
Exactly. You are so smart, Esther. Neutrality is the ultimate mind shift. It's where you change your frame of reference from your head into your heart. Neutrality is so exciting because in the realm of empowered neutrality, the ego mind no longer has control of you, right?
You shift from that roller coaster ride of pain and suffering caused by your ego mind programs to freedom.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to say. It would feel like freedom. I also love your concepts of your true self and ego mind programs. Can you share with us what those are?
Your true self is the perfection of who you are. And neutrality, like love, is an eternal expression of your true self. So that's where you're whole and complete.
And ego mind programs are dysfunctional parts of your self-image, which you've made up and you believe they are true, consciously or unconsciously.
Yes, and they're nearly always unconscious, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the unconscious ones are the most insidious because when you're not aware of them, it's very hard to neutralize them.
Which segues nicely back to neutrality. How do you become neutral?
Well, that's easy. First, you have to identify them. And you identify them by realizing that you've lost your way from that state of love, from your perfect point of power. So again, if you're feeling fear, negativity, or pain, you've got an ego mind program running that needs to be neutralized.
We've created a whole toolkit that presents the quantum neutrality process. But the easiest way for someone to begin is by using this technique we've created and we've taught all over the world. It's called the 4 questions.
I love the 4 questions. I've used it in the Codebreaker book. So can you explain what the questions are?
Yeah.
Well, when you use the 4 questions, you're cultivating mindfulness, and you're developing your emotional intelligence. It's a very, very valuable process, even though it's very simple. The 4 questions that you ask yourself are, what am I feeling? What is my focus? How do I want to feel? And what focus will serve that?
You're right, and it's so simple, but it's so effective.
That's right. I mean, and remember, that's just the beginning phases of when you've discovered that you're needing to get neutral around something. I mean, obviously, when you're working with somebody who's in a very traumatic situation and they're not dealing with a particular life challenge, the 4 questions, you need to go beyond the 4 questions, right?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I remember working with a young girl, she was only 23, but she'd been suicidal for at least 2 or 3 years, and she was really in a conflict. So she'd moved so far away from her true self, from her state of being in love. And her mother had asked her to give us a call and have a session so that she could go through the quantum neutrality process with us. And she very courageously got on the phone, but sobbed the whole hour. I mean, really racking sobs. You could feel her inner torment. It was just incredible. But by the end of the hour, she was smiling, she was laughing, she was a completely different person. Now, I'm not saying that 1 hour and using this fabulous human technology of neutrality completely changed her, but it began a process of change that she could build on.
Wow.
So obviously she would need more sessions, she would need to use the tools herself, but her mother got on the phone with us a few hours later, and she said she just could not believe it. They expected some kind of shift, but they had no idea that she would become a very different person just from 1 session.
Wow.
So we know neutrality is... It is the big kahuna. It is this breakthrough that humanity has been waiting for. And you know what? It's really easy. It's not that just Daniel and I know how to use this process. It's that everyone is capable of using this process.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Just to have that that realization that there is light.
Yeah.
That
Well,
you
there's a
can
sense.
find your true self again.
Exactly. There's a sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
You know, she was so empowered, in fact, after that 1 session, she went and set up a date with her estranged father.
Yeah.
She spoke to her ex-boyfriend. You can see the pattern here, that all of the exes, all the men in her life were out of her life. So getting her centered back into her heart again by getting her neutral to her programs meant that she could find love again, and she could reconstruct and reconnect with those relationships.
And find that peace.
You said something really important. When she actually did connect with the love that she is, then she knew she could do it again and again.
Exactly.
It was getting back in touch.
Getting on track, getting on the right
Yes.
track.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of people think, well, okay, they can do it. I'll never be able to do this. But that's not true. The fact is that all human beings have the ability to tap into that infinite field of information. And that's where you go directly to the core of what's creating the problem. And from that place, you can neutralize the emotions around the decisions that are creating the problems.
And like you said, some of them are potentially unconscious, and you are fantastic at finding out what these programs and problems are and where they come from.
Yes. And you can too.
Yeah, we all can. Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work that you both do. So
Thank you.
I think everyone's so relieved that there's this information and that's available to us to help ourselves.
Yeah, from our point of view, the relief is that people who would normally go through 40 years of, and I say that because there was one woman we worked with who had 40 years and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on therapy, and she still had no resolution around a personal problem, and that she felt inner turmoil around still, around something that had happened to her father when she was 18 years old.
And like yourself included, you said you've both experienced,
We have.
life, changes and challenges that have been very debilitating, and you've, now thriving.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. It's like this woman too. In one session with her, she was able to come to a place where those emotions no longer controlled her. And that's all she was looking for. She was looking to come to a place where the emotions of that event no longer controlled her, and when they no longer controlled her, she was free to move on in her life and put together some really good relationships, which really for the last 40 years since that event, she hadn't been able to do. So you can see how, I think you used the word insidious and dangerous ego-mind problems are, because they're affecting our life on every single level, and we don't even know it.
Thank you again so much. This has been wonderful. And yeah, I'm sure everyone watching is just as inspired by this work as I am. And if you want to find out more, then please visit Sandra and Daniel's website. It's thebiskins.com, and you can find out when the next video and ebook will be available. Thanks again.
Thanks, Esther.
Thank you.
Lovely.